All right, guys, we're back for round two's review for Supercoach 2024. I feel like last week I still said 2023. 2019 for the score this week. Not the worst score, like it is above par, but there was at least another 100 points that I could have made on this score. Some very stupid mistakes, I guess. All stuff to learn from, though, so not too bad. Inside the top 20k, which, again, for the first, say, 5 rounds, doesn't really matter where you're ranked. But yeah, everyone hates buy rounds, so thank you, AFL, for giving us a couple more of them. That's definitely the way that we all thought to fix the buy round issue. So, getting into the team, there are a couple, like, really low scorers and stuff, but I'd say overall the weekend was pretty high scoring, even if there's 2 teams missing. Getting into it, like Dacos, man, he got iced out of it in his 50th game, which, man, can the commentary, did they go 5 minutes without bringing up it's his 50th game? Like, that was, we went on to the next game, it was Geelong and Adelaide, and guess who they bring up? You got to hear me cough a lot and cut a lot because I need to get a drink of water. The weather change in Melbourne absolutely destroys my throat. You can probably hear it now. It is not in a good shape. Give me 1 second, I'm going to go get a drink. Yeah, look, there's no real way around it. My throat is killing me. Let's get through it. So yeah, Nick Dacos got iced out of it, couldn't really get around it. His normal super uncontested game just wasn't working. Jeff, I mean, the Saints, it was a great performance from them. Like, their defense really held up. They were really getting into, like, the whole midfield. But yeah, I mean, Collingwood haven't looked the best to start the year, but it's probably the best time for him to look bad is the start of the year. But yeah, feel another cough fit coming on. On to Dan Houston. He wasn't honestly that bad. Like, I tuned in and out of this game. I saw maybe like the first quarter, then like the second half. Yeah, I mean, Port look really good. Even last week, like against West Coast, they've only beaten 2 probably bottom 4. I mean, maybe Richmond is bottom 6. They've only beaten 2 like bad teams, but they've looked really good in doing so. And we'll get into like Butters and stuff like that later because he had an amazing game. But Dan Houston, that kickoff halfback, that setup kick, it's really what like every team is looking for. Like you go through the league and it's, are you a good team? Yes, it's because you have that guy, like a Dan Houston. If Dan Houston played in Melbourne, he would be one of the most talked about players in the league. And it's just, let's just put it out there. It is still the VFL, right? Like, it is very Victorian based in terms of media coverage, everything like that. But yeah, Dan Houston's great. Wish he had a couple more kick-ins, but I can see why he's losing them to, like, I think it was Kane Farrell. Kane Farrell's kick is just a booming leg. Like, it just shoots up the field. It is crazy. But yeah, good game from Houston. Definitely someone that was the correct idea to start. It's just a matter of how many points am I losing not having a Tom Stewart, which I can rectify this week. We'll get into that in trades, but I could rectify that this week. Sheasel, a good game from him. Didn't see much in the third from Sheasel. I'd actually like to pull up the numbers because I can do fantasy stats by quarter. So give me 1 second. I am going to bring that up. Yeah, so as we can kind of see here, this DFS Australia, just go to live scoring and then find the game you're looking for and sort by fantasy by quarter. It is only fantasy. They don't do Supercoach, but I mean, the scores are pretty similar. The third quarter was his lowest quarter. I didn't see him much on screen as I was watching, but this was also super boring, so I wasn't watching very intently. The second quarter was definitely the one where I saw him the most, and it was like, yep, typical Sheasel game, gets a ton of it, is a good user of the ball, doesn't really kick into dangerous situations unless he has to, because, I mean, there was a lot of situations where, especially when they were giving up that lead, North Melbourne forwards and like high midfielders just weren't moving. So you kind of have to take on those dangerous kicks. But, I mean, they don't show disposal efficiency on here, but Sheasel's efficiency is always pretty good. Next, Hayden Young. This pick, I'm not sure about even in the role he's got. He's got a good role, inside midfielder, swaps out for Fife. Fife can't be there like 100% of the game. Fife did get subbed. I think that was just more like, and I think the idea was he had a back injury. I'd imagine that's more awareness because he is like an older guy now. It's like, all right, if you're feeling a couple of niggles and stuff, and we're against North Melbourne, we're gonna bring you out, right? Like, save you a little bit. But Hayden Young, man, he doesn't look good. Um, this is one they're not going to show disposal efficiency, and this is one I really want to bring up. He played really poor, right? Like, that's 2 weeks in a row. He just hasn't been very good. Last week, he had, what, 9 clangers? This week, he had, I want to say, about 8. So what's that? We're at 17 clangers in 2 weeks. Actually, I don't know if he had 8 this week. He had a lot, though. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think this is a pick, to be honest. Especially with a lot of their defenders going down. Coffin fit's coming on. Give me a second. But yeah, as I was saying with Hayden Young, right, like, they've got a lot of defensive injuries, and I think that they are going to have to move him back. Not because of role or anything like that, just out of sheer necessity, right? They're not going to have many guys left. Cox is out. I mean, you can just see it on here, right? Like, Draper was a first gamer. Pierce, I mean, he's their captain, but look, I'm not going to say too much, but I don't think he's that great. Miss is a forward. Brandon Walker is a forward, I believe. Emmett forward, Taberner forward, Tracy Ruck / forward. Frederick, you want kind of like half forward, midfield, forward type of thing. I mean, not a lot of defenders here. They're playing a lot of guys out of position. I mean, you still got, you know, your Luke Ryan. What's his name? Clark. He's kind of playing off half back for him. But yeah, I think Hayden Young is going to be put back into defense sooner or later, especially if he's just not very good at keeping the ball. His efficiency's not great. Next, D'Ambrosio. This was one of the trade-ins for this week. If you're wondering, the trades this week were... actually, can I just show them? History. Trade history. So if you can see it on this side, it is a little bit cut off, but you got Nick Martin, Zach Fisher, which I'm not even going to, like, man. Nick Martin, Zach Fisher, and Gibcus, who was injured, for D'Ambrosio, Tom Berry, and Matt Rowell. Yeah, it's great. I think Zach Fisher actually outscored Rowell. Or he scored close to it. Yeah, he outscored him. Sweet. Love it. But yeah, D'Ambrosio, great pickup. Someone that I would target this week. If you've got a Gibcus, Zach Freed, Nick Caulfield. Who are the other rookies in defense? There is one on the table. So Sam Darcy is definitely someone to bring in. He looks great. They were highly touting him all preseason. I did believe the hype. Is just I didn't think that he was actually going to play this early. I thought he was going to come on a bit later because he was kind of been dealing with a couple of injuries. I thought maybe they'd want to bring him along through the VFL first. But yeah, so D'Ambrosio was good. Howes was all right. I mean, best of the bench. Hall was the sub, which I don't know if he's going to stay the sub. They have... So Lever and May did go down. I'm still waiting to see what the official reports are on them. Some, you know, it could be long-term injuries, could be short-term. I think I saw Lever, like, grabbing at his leg off ball, which probably means he's done a muscle injury, which probably means it's long-term. But, you know, wait and see on that one. I think Hawes probably back in the team. And then maybe Billings becomes the sub again. If they're going for more defenders in, it's possible. Or maybe they just make Hall the sub and then play new defenders and then kind of switch around. We'll see. Bontempelli was good up in Ballarat. I don't think typically he scores that well in Ballarat. I did see a tweet during the week about like his highest score, and I think it was like 108, 110, something like that. Yeah, so I think this is actually his biggest score in Ballarat. But yeah, so Bont was good, looked good for it and everything like that. There was a brief bit of concern. I think it was Tuchmiller went to tackle him and just kind of landed on his ankle, and Bont got up, kind of limped around a little bit. But then, 2 minutes later, he kicked a goal from like almost 50 out. So, Bont is absolutely fine. The thing with him is, right, like 700k, break even on 148, he will go down. He will miss that. I mean, it's West Coast. He might not miss it. We'll see what happens with that, right? If he misses it, I mean, that's probably your best get in for round 4 is Bont, just because, I mean, he's a Brownlow level player. I probably expect him to win it this year if everything goes to plan. He is just a bit expensive, though. That's the only thing. Zach Butters, top scorer of the week. He did outdo Jackson, right? So it was him and Jackson. Jackson had a 178, so 3 points higher. All right, so second highest scorer of the week. He's a fantastic player, right? Like, he puts his body on the line probably too much. There's even little snippets of stuff they showed during the broadcast, like of port training, and it's Hinkley saying, "Dude, it's a soft training. Stop going headfirst into everything." But yeah, I mean, he's a great player to watch. Definitely one of the best midfielders in the league. He's probably racked up a couple of votes through his first 2. But yeah, great player. Love watching him. On to another player I love watching, but he couldn't pick a worse week to be incredibly inefficient. Matt Rowell. So the Rowell versus Libba matchup was amazing, right? Like, they were pushing, shoving. Both dudes are pretty built, so there's a bit of strength in there. Yeah, I mean, look, to watch, it was great. To have a player in, man, I hated it because Rao could not get a clean touch of the ball, which means he could not get it away accurately. I think his final disposal efficiency, which I am actually going to bring up on my phone because that's probably the easiest way to do it. I feel like it was mid-70s. I don't think it was very high. Maria Dogs. Where is he? Matt Rao. 76. Yeah. I mean, there was one part of the game where I turned it up and had a look, and it was like, low 60s. Which, for Supercoach, the main difference between Supercoach and Fantasy is Supercoach really loves your disposal efficiency. And if you're not efficient with it, man, they tell you. 25 touches, 15 contested, which is great. It's what you want to see. 5 turnovers is probably the issue here. He had a couple of frees for, one against. Not terrible. Overall, I think it was a positive trade-in. It's a player I like watching, and that should always come over, like point chasing, stuff like that, right? Was I point chasing? Sure I was. He also is a super good player who could have held up those scores. This week was definitely like a 120 opportunity if it wasn't Libba on him. But yeah, it is what it is. He is on bye this week, which was kind of like making me hesitate on trading him in, but he's my only premium midfielder with a bye. And when you look at other teams typically will have a Tom Green or a Matt Rowell or Dacos, something like that, like in the midfield. We can just have a look here. Like Sydney, people will have Heaney. Some people might have jumped on Chad Warner. Actually, I want to see what Chad Warner scored this week because I think he's actually a bit of a smoky for being a top 8. 102, I guess maybe not that high. Richmond, some people might have Taranto and guys like that from them. Melbourne, some people might have Petrarca, Oliver. Yeah, that whole midfield. I mean, Viney was good in round 0. Round 0 was kind of populated with really good midfielders, so people will be missing some. So I'm not too mad about having one that's on bye, especially when I can just build it up like the next week. Steele was very good. Kind of went on this before, so I'm not going to harp on it too long, but St Kilda were just very, very good defensively against Collingwood, right? Very good tackling, very good just defensive movement. We'll see if they can keep that up. They kind of were good defensively versus Geelong. It just felt like there was a couple of errors and stuff. And I mean, if there's one team you don't want to make errors against, it's a veteran team like Geelong, right? They've literally seen every possible scenario. Yeah, you don't want to make a mistake versus them. But yeah, Steele was great. 529k. If you don't have him, I wouldn't move heaven and earth for him. But I mean, maybe if you have, pardon me, if you have Nick Martin, who I don't think scored well again. It was probably like, I want to say mid 70s, 93. Yeah, I mean, you could go Martin to Steele, just because I think Steele's going to go up in value. I mean, 61 break even, predicted 103. Who's he play? Essendon, 120 is possible again. So yeah, that could be someone you target. Wines, so a bit of discourse around Wines, like, yeah, is he actually that good and everything like that. 1 second. Yeah, so like on Wines, it's, is he actually playing midfield? People take like a 3-minute snippet of the game where he's playing half forward and say, oh, yep, the role's dead. He is definitely a midfielder. We can see that again on here, DFS. You go there. Come on, any day now. There we are. CBAs, Port Adelaide. And look at that Ollie line, 64%. He's definitely like a bona fide midfielder. Anything in the green means you are absolutely fine. Horne-Francis, as people thought, was going to move up forward. He did miss this week. Chance he misses next week, but when he does, I mean, you see like his midfield split goes a lot to Drew, which is a bit interesting. I thought they'd just give it back to Boak, 350th type of thing, but Drew looked good. Someone who's typically a tagger moving into like a proper midfield role. Rosie got a little bit and Butters got a little bit, so it's kind of spread out. So I think when Horne-Francis comes in, this probably drops a bit more to 55%. Against West Coast, right? They just couldn't keep him on the field because it was so hot. And then the game was a lot on the far side wing, so they couldn't really make subs. Wines is a fine pick. It is one that I might look to move on from next week, given how the cash situation is. I'm definitely not got to get off as soon as possible. Anywhere between 90 and 100 is kind of where I expect him to go. He's not a keeper. He's just someone to make money, then move him on to a keeper. Rookie roulette for this week. Got 2 of the 3. Missed the big one, which, I mean, that's what, 36 extra points, which would have helped, right? With total score and rank and everything like that. Roberts was good. Sydney look awesome this year. I definitely thought they would blow out Essendon a bit more. So maybe that's a sign of concern. Not really. I mean, if you're Victorian media, it's a sign of concern because another interstate team's good. But yeah, Matt Roberts, fine. He's going to keep this role, I'd imagine. McKercher was also awesome this week. Really, there's no reason not to have started him. Maybe if you had a weird amount of extra money and you could go up to a 300k guy, maybe you could have, but I don't know. I would have just started McKercher. Yeah, he looks super good. Definitely worthy of a high draft pick. I thought Riley Sanders is going to win Rising Star. More games like this and McKercher will win it. Jack Cowell didn't play. I did take Sharp score. This was when I saw Oscar Baker was the sub, which I did think he was, and I think they announced it a little earlier. I definitely took Riley Sanders off field because I thought, oh, another potential midfielder, winger, half forward that they're playing as sub. That could definitely be a Sanders sub out. I should have thought, there's no way that they're going to do it to the young recruit 2 weeks in a row, right? I mean, it's Bevo. It's possible. He still won't play Jack McRae, even though he's destroying the VFL. But yeah, for next week, it will be Riley Sanders on field, and he will be staying there. And watch this week, he will get subbed out on a 50. So that's the midfield done. I mean, Sharp was good. Clark was good. Clark, I'm still not sure about. I feel like the role is there. I don't know about his skill level, and his ability to kind of score in his role. Might be just a bit too green. The Rucks, Gordon Grundy both put up solid scores, nothing amazing. Wish Grundy was a bit higher than that, maybe about an extra 10 or so points higher. Isaac Heaney, 128. Obviously, he's kind of on this 125 plus streak. Last week was 140, 144, 136. Yeah, 144 round zero, 136, 128. So it is coming down, I guess. But yeah, as a midfielder, he is electric. He's always there for the clearance of the ball. Either he's got it or he's like one step off it. Great to watch. Jordan had a really slow first half, I thought. I think he was only on about 30 or so at halftime, which isn't the worst, but it was kind of an undeserved 30. Got up to 88, which is fine. He got his cash up to 320k, which there is another 300k guy, which we'll be looking at this week. But Jordan was great. Let me get a drink. This might be one of the most like scuffed recordings I've done. I mean, it's because of the weather change, like I said. It's just killing my throat. Fife, I kind of hinted on this before, but he was subbed out. The news I've seen is it was the back, but like I said, I think it was more so he is an important piece for them. He looked good through like 3 quarters. Little bit of back injury against North Melbourne. Freo had all the momentum, and they ended up winning by what, like 30 something, right? Like it was a huge win coming from behind. Yeah, 30. Do the math. 26 points. Yeah, I could see why they subbed out Fife. Harley Reid still looks phenomenal. His scoring is not like all there for Supercoach, but if you watch this guy play, it's like, yeah, all right, he's gonna be one of the next up. There was just one passage of play. It was like in the midfield, kind of like towards the outer sideline. Fend off, gets the ball back, another fend off, then kicks it like a dot upfield. Like, yeah, he's crazy. And then there was one like he was out of bounds. I'm not gonna, say he was out of bounds, but like he running alongside, a couple of midfielders. I can't remember who was there, and he just like from out of bounds just hits a dot like inside 50, inside the goal square. He's a crazy player. Cadman 90, kind of expected this. Again, it's West Coast. It is kind of pick a forward versus them. I thought Jesse Hogan might go off for like a 140 or something like that this week, but ended up only on 66. That was the issue why I would say not to pick Jesse Hogan is Cadman looks very good this year. Again, I'm still going to stick by next year's going to be his breakout year, in the year like he puts up all these like visible stat totals and everything like that show he's so good. But I think this year he'll be underrated forward because I don't think he'll have the tally stats and stuff like that. Sexton had him in the F6. Should have went Wilson in hindsight, but I mean Sexton halfback. Why would you not take him? Tom Berry was the trader in, and I'm going to do something that might make some people like, oh, you don't know Supercoach or anything like that. I'm going to trade him back out this week. I only needed him to make a little bit of money. That was it. I obviously expected a bit higher of a score, but for trades, we are going Tom Power. He looks fantastic. So he was someone who was on my radar last week after I feel like he scored 108. He kept it up this week. I just wanted to see like if he'd keep it because I think Simpkin came in this week. See how the midfield split was. He had 2 goals. He moved upfield. Very Heaney-esque without the extreme athleticism of Isaac Heaney, right? But yeah, great player. Someone that I'm fine with bringing in, especially because like North Carlton is probably a good enough matchup for him to score against. North Brisbane's probably going to suck, but it's in Adelaide, so I mean no one has home field advantage there. North Geelong, maybe not great. That one's not fantastic. Then North Hawks, that'll be all right for him. They're not going to put Finn McGuinness on Tom Powell. Finn McGuinness might not even keep his spot in in the AFL. But yeah, that's probably the team we're going to be going for this week. Don't see many reason to go with heaps of trades. Obviously, if I didn't want to go with this one, Tom Powell, you go like that, and then Hayden Young does go up to Tom Stewart, which I don't know. I don't know if I want to move on right now. I think I might wait a week and then get Whitfield, who has his own problem. His problem is he not only has a bye now, he's also in the first bye later in the season, right? He's got round 12. Not great, but that's a possible way to do it. Like I said, the problem is I don't have Tom Stewart, and he's the other high-scoring defender at the moment. Look at sort by defender, who's scoring. Average probably isn't the way to do it because people have like one extra game played. Luke Ryan, who I'm gonna wait until the last second to bring this guy in, just because he's burnt me in the past. But in saying that, so is Hayden Young. McGovern's not a real pick. Whitfield is the guy I'm looking at. Jordan Clark could be interesting. Don't know if I'd hop on it. Will Powell has kind of impressed me the last couple of weeks. Thought he would score better this week, but like I said, it's in Ballarat, so not the greatest ground for it. Wanganeen Malira, he looked good. He looked good this week. Very, very good this week. Kind of like a breakout week for him. In the Geelong game, I thought him and Liam Ryan, that connection was perfect, right? Like, St Kilda can just build around that connection of Wanganeen Malira and Liam Henry. I think I call him Liam Ryan. Liam Henry. Just the two great players, right? If he holds up, he'll make you some cash. The problem is West Coast just don't look good. Blakey, I think, is someone that could kind of sneak into top 6, just because of the way they're playing. Jaden Short, maybe not a pick anymore. But yeah, not a ton at the moment for top 6 defenders. A couple of guys under the radar and everything like that. So for trades, I am just going to do that one for Tom Powell. He might actually come up an average. Yeah, there he is. But if you saw him there, Sam Darcy, 109, and he's played one game, which means next week he'll play. This weekend he'll play his second game, and then everyone has to bring him in. So next week it's probably going to be the worst of Clark, Carroll, Sharp out for Wilson going in the midfield, Darcy coming in as forward. Get a cheap price rise off these guys. Probably Clark. Again, I'm just not very sure on him. Wilson is also on the table because he is not that good. He's kind of saving his score with a goal or two. But yeah, so that's the idea for this week and the idea for next week. Not planning too far in the future. It is still only round 3. If you start planning in the future, something goes wrong and it throws your whole team out. Yeah, that's what we'll be rocking with this week. Next week, Cadman comes back on, I think. Who did they play here? Gold Coast it's in Adelaide still, but yeah, I wouldn't mind Cadman. Actually, speaking of Gold Coast, what did their guy score? Jed Walter, there we go. What did he score? 37. He looked very good though. But first game for AFL footy. Didn't expect a high score, but yeah, so see you all next week. Sorry about this being the most sketchy recording ever. My throat is in a world of pain. But yeah, see you all next time. Tasty out.